Greetings, Flameborn. This is your Knight of the Pseudoposse, and we are back in the Enshrouded Pact of the Flame update. Well, partially. In actuality, this has been a video that's been a long time coming since the game's 4th update, one which I had promised previously to deliver, and that was a how to build guide on my Viking house located at the top of Howling Peaks across from the Fell Dragon within Albaneve Summit's biome. So part of this video will be dedicated to building the house as originally showcased in the aforementioned Viking house tour video. I say originally because after the 5th update came out, which was focused around the expanded building mechanics, I wanted to use them in some way, and I thought I'd expand upon the Viking fantasy house by adding an underground crypt area. I dropped a hint in a recent top 15 building tips video for the Pact of the Flame update that this would be the next project, so this video serves to fulfill 2 promises simultaneously. Here's the video breakdown. First, a brief tour of the completed build, including the new add-ons, with both myself and Viking lore Taco. We'll breeze through the original part of the build as that was shown off previously in the original tour video. Next, we'll demonstrate how to build the Viking house in its original state, and I'll make note of what I may have done differently with the new building mechanics in Update 5. Finally, we'll move on to the construction of the underground crypt area using all the new mechanics from the most recent update. I'll also mention some useful tips and tricks I discovered along the way. So without further ado, let's bring forth Viking Lord Taco Bear.
I know it's bunker.
Yes, Taco, yes. Why don't you try opening it? No.
Why is it not all stay?
Not because I was trying to open it too. Well, welcome. Why don't you come inside this way?
Wow. Is it secret chamber?
It could be. It could be. Why don't you open it?
Wow. Oh. Wow. Whoa. There is a skeleton there. Hi, skeleton. He's scared of me.
He is. You're definitely intimidating with your crown.
He's backing up.
Oh yeah, the pathing doesn't handle the bars very well.
What?
He kind of slides around.
No.
You're scaring him. You're kind of pushing him into the door. Oh, why don't you leave him be?
No.
Kind of shoving him away.
No. Okay, I'm down. Bye.
Bye.
Been locked out.
Yeah. Oh, why don't you come in and have a look around? So this is the crypt area. So we got a little coffin over here. With a Bible or some sort of religious text here. Praying over the dead.
Pray.
I pray to Lord the Taco Bear.
Guy. Oh, he's intimidated too.
Are you gonna shove him out too?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the alchemy station. All right, well, if you come to this side.
Wow, that's really nice. On the wall.
Oh, this is with the new ivy tool, with the new overgrowth tool.
That looks cool.
Yeah, did you notice it on this side too?
Wow, that's beautiful. Wow, there's so many beds. Why?
Because craftspeople now need beds, as of like, I think it was like update 4 or something. So they each need to have their own bed, so I just kind of threw them all back here.
Why there is, what's this called?
It's like a more of like a Asian kind of like room divider.
Why there's a room divider?
For privacy.
Why we need privacy?
For sleeping.
Why we need sleep?
Because everybody needs sleep. And look, notice the pattern on them.
The dragon.
No.
What?
Snake.
Is it?
Yeah, Year of the Snake.
This is a dragon.
No, it's a snake.
Dragon.
Snake. I guess it doesn't say snake.
So it's a dragon.
But I'm assuming it's
No,
snake.
it's a
Because
dragon.
it's Year of the Snake.
No.
Yes.
It's a dragon.
No.
Dragon.
Because there's a snake statue.
So
There has to be a snake
Oh my
divider.
God. This look completely different than
No.
that. This is a dragon.
Snake.
Dragon.
Snake.
They have this update in the dragon year. So this
No,
has
this
to be a
update
dragon.
was this year in the snake.
No.
Snake.
It hasn't happened yet. So this
What do you mean? It already happened.
No. When they have this update, it's still before.
No.
Snake
No.
year.
Snake.
Dragon.
Snake.
Dragon.
Snake.
Dragon.
Okay, everybody, someone settle this in the comments, okay? Snake or dragon?
Dragon, not my dragon.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. All right. Let's move on from the snake dragon debate.
That's not a dragon. Am I not going to be melted? Oh, this is a bug.
Bug or a feature?
Oh, I'm so hot. Oh, Oh, I'm so hot.
Oh my gosh, so fake. All right, Taco. So I think you've toured the bottom
Oh,
here.
he's doing show to me. Look. Come on, do it.
Are you gonna
again.
shove him now?
Oh.
Oh, shove him in the corner. Typical. Gosh, Lord Viking Taco Bear, everybody.
This is a bit sturdy. Oh, yes.
Oh, there you go. You got him. I think you properly shoved everybody.
Okay, okay.
All right, so if we go back over here real quick, just before we head up. So way down below is actually the path you originally take to fight the dragon. So it just so happens that the top of this mountain has kind of like an entrance from the top down there. And so when I dug up the area to build, I uncovered this. And I originally covered it for the original build of the Viking house, but then when I uncovered it again to carve out this space, I decided to incorporate it into the actual design and not just cover it up again. Amazing. All right, let's go, Taco. Let's go.
Am I very interested?
No, not at all. You're more interested in shoving everybody. Okay, up the stairs, Taco. Up the stairs. Stairs are just stairs, Taco.
Look.
Oh, those are not stairs. Those are lots of ladder.
Yeah,
That's just for decoration.
Look.
That's just to, distract the simple-minded.
Entertain me?
Yes.
Oh.
All right. Why don't you do the honors?
Wow. Oh, this is original video.
Yep. So this should look very familiar, but there are a few little differences out here.
Can I shove all this off?
Those are just statues. So I mean, good luck. But yeah. So this is the front door. Obviously, the original front door.
Oh, this is a building.
Yeah, we are in the main building, so you can enter the bottom area from either inside or from the cellar doors. But yeah, so otherwise, like, I don't think anything else has really changed all that much, although now there's, more people living here. Because I've kind of transferred the main base over from the tree house to here.
The tree house?
Yeah, from the tree house. So the tree house is kind of empty. Actually, there's kind of a little hole in the tree house. Because in the update, they kind of changed the trees a bit and some of the locations of the trees. So there's like some tree gaps and it's a little bit, a little wonky over there right now. And now there's also a big branch jutting out from the pathway here.
Well, I think it looks better now than before.
It looks interesting.
Yeah.
And then also...
chaotic is a beauty, right?
Yes, there is beauty in chaos. I mean, that's why I married you after all.
You should definitely include this.
Yeah. And then this is also completely overgrown now too. So like before, this branch wasn't coming out through here and this wasn't like so overgrown. But I think that looks pretty cool, actually.
I want to go to see that dragon and come back, but okay, wish me luck.
Good luck, Taco.
to see.
I'm gonna watch.
Hey!
Wow! Where are you going? Aim for the platform.
Now what?
Drop down and then turn around and go back.
Is it coming back? Is it coming to me?
Yes. Go, go, go.
Oh,
Did you press spacebar?
yes, I did.
Okay, cool. Whoa! You did it! I'm actually thought you were gonna die.
Yeah, we should bet on it.
Oh, too late.
Okay, expand your famous pun, okay?
Okay, I can make it a bit larger.
Okay, thank you, Viking Lord Taco. Let's get to building. Now, I won't show you every single little step, as the video would otherwise be hours long, but I'll try to condense it in such a way that it is easily digestible and understandable. Your first step will be to flatten out this mountain peak. That is a bit of a process in and of itself, but it isn't too time-consuming. You'll want to build the curved walls on either end of the house, which consists of 12 granite blocks laid in a line, followed by a section of 3 blocks, another 3, 4 sections of 2, followed up with 2 sections of 3. This will be repeated in all 4 quadrants. The length between both sides is dependent on how much of the mountain peak you want to level, so scale it to your preference. If you are intending to build the underground portion later in the build, I highly recommend digging that out now. It will be much easier before you put in the floor and everything else. Assuming you have already done that, or you just want to build the original house, proceed to fill in the floor and then begin placing the wall around the perimeter. Build the wall 2 blocks high out of granite and next use wood conifer window frames along the straight sections. At our entrance, build some columns and connect them with door frames, all using granite. On top of the granite, switch back to conifer wood for an additional 2 layers. Feel free to add some little details in the corners of the granite columns to create a slight arch. Along the curved wall section,
sections, continue the 2-block high granite wall and fill in the rest with conifer wood. Leave the centered area open for now, as we'll fill that in with windows later. Match the height of the existing wall and proceed to start laying out the outline of the tower. I use these wood pieces to determine the center of the build so I could center the tower. Like we did with the curved wall sections, we'll do a similar pattern here, except it will be slightly larger. There will be a line of 14 blocks in the center, followed by 2 sections of 3, 6 sections of 2, followed by 2 sections of 3. Once you finish the outline, start filling it in. Don't worry about the exact height at this point, as you'll ultimately want to build it up to the height of your 3rd floor. I followed the contours of the natural mountain terrain to give it a more natural look, so some sections went pretty far down, while others not so much. Making some temporary platforms definitely helps to get to some of those lower spots. For a bit of added detail, you can remove some blocks randomly and replace with castle wall stone. It gives the wall a more weathered look, and after testing multiple stone blocks with granite, I found the castle wall blocks looked the nicest. In addition, with the 5th update, you can use the decay tool as well. Inside the tower, I also decided to keep the natural terrain and fit the walls and floors around the mountainside. Feel free to clear that out if you want some more space. Time to start building upwards. Begin with a set of columns placed with 6-block gap from the perimeter walls. Connect each of the pillars using the 1-meter wall block at the same height as the entryway granite structure. Though structural physics doesn't exist in the world of Enshrouded, I still like to make it look grounded in physical reality. That's just me at least. Back out front, run some wall across and along the span of the entryway. Place a granite shingle roof. We will use this material for all the lower roofs and switch to the fancier granite ornamented roof blocks for the upper level ones. Speaking of which, we want steeper sloped roofs than what the prefab roofing shapes provide, which means we'll ultimately need to fill in the roof single block by single block. We'll start with the front facing wall filler in between the roof. For every 1 block over, we raise the next column up 2. Placing the roof can be made much easier by placing some guiding blocks from the front face down toward the rear. With these blocks in position, it becomes very easy to place the roofing blocks. Simply stack 2 roofing blocks on top of each beam with only a single layer on top. And that's that. You can actually fill in the roof rather quickly using this method. It can be made even faster with the ability to enter first-person mode since the new update. That would have made placing the roofing blocks much easier. Extend the length of the roof beams toward the backside. Don't worry too much about getting the length exactly right, as you can fine-tune it once you build up the tower in the back. Next, we are going to start building out the upper level part of the structure. Begin by placing additional columns on the ground floor, count 11 blocks, and plop. Using the wall block 1 meter shape, connect the new columns to the existing and also connect each pair to each other. On what will be the second floor, place a column on top of all the first floor columns. We are now going to outline the smaller roofs on the sides that will connect to the main roofing structure. Extend the outer columns to the height you want. For me, that was around the same height as the lowest roofing guide beam to the right. Select the wall shape and place it in the column such that the height from the top of the column to the top of the wall is 2 blocks high. That is because we are going to use the same slope as the larger roof, 2 blocks high, 1 block wide. Use the wall to fill in all of the gaps and continue tapering the placement according to that placement rule. Eventually switch to the single wall block shape when the width becomes too narrow for the wall, and continue placing the blocks 2 high, 1 wide until you are left with a single 1 block wide section at the top. Run the roof guiding beam over the main roof, which will be super helpful when it comes to meshing the roofs together. My top guide beam is positioned right above the 5th beam from the bottom of the main roof. Once all the roof beams are in place, you can proceed to fill in the roof at this point, though it isn't necessary at this time. And in fact, it might be easier to leave it open once we start on the second floor to let in the sunlight for better visibility. Let's pivot to the lower roof, and for these, I decided to select the granite shingle roof blocks, as I want the high roof to be more ornate. The lower roof needs to have a shallow slope and fit in an irregularly shaped area. After spending a lot of time on the opposite side of the lower roof, I'll show you all the fastest way to set it up, which ended up being pretty easy once I found the best way. Here's how. First, let's fill in some of the wall around the second floor, so we have a reference point of where our roof needs to end. Place the wall pieces 1 block just before the edge all around. Next, select the 2 meter flat roof shape and place them along the top of the first floor wall with a 2 block width overhanging the exterior of the wall. This will give a slight roof overhang around the house. Once you reach the end of the straight line section of the wall, stop. and head back to the start. Raise the shape 1 block higher and 2 blocks to the right. This is essentially the inverse slope of the high roof, 2 blocks over, 1 block high this time. Repeat this pattern, but taper the length as you go higher, as we'll need to mesh it all together later on, so we don't want to overbuild and have to remove a bunch of roofing material later. Easier to add than to remove. Once that is completed, we can do the same thing on the next straight section at the very end, 2 block overhang, and then increase the height by 1 and 2 blocks over each time until we reach the same height as the previous section. Upon reaching that height, simply extend the roof toward the wall. Now we're going to do the corner. From the end, place the shape 2 blocks over, 1 block in. From this block, 1 block over, 1 in. Same for the next block. This next shape over is 2 over, 1 in. All the remaining ones are 1 block over, 1 block in. For the second layer, repeat the pattern and make sure to align the left corners such that it creates a nice straight slope. As you continue, keep following the slope, but as you reach the edges, stop short to taper the height. This is key as the outer edges of the corner should only be as high as the lower parts of the roof on the edges. Building this part would definitely be made easier with the first person mode, as placing some of the shapes precisely could be a bit tricky. But overall, it is pretty straightforward. You'll want to follow the same exact procedure on the other half of this lower roof, so go rewatch the last part again if you want to repeat the instructions. At this point, most of the first floor should be completed. The roofing is either completed or framed out to easily fill in later, but the second floor and rear tower still need a lot of work. Let's start with the tower and fill in the second floor right above all the snow. For the rest of the second story floor, we'll use conifer wood for the interior of the house. The tower's second story walls can now be constructed using a wide wall for the straight sections and a 2-meter column for the rest. Place the third floor on top of these walls, leaving enough headroom to access the stairs. Alright, we're nearing the end. Just some final touches remain and of course filling in the entire rooftop. Let's start with the lower roof decorative overhang. I did a lot of experimentation with different wood materials, and to me, the refined wood block looks the best. Feel free to disagree. In between the windows, just under the overhang, place 2 single wall blocks on top. Remove a single roof block from the edge right above the blocks you just placed, and replace it with another refined wood block. From there, follow the contours of the granite roof all the way to the wall. Switch to roof blocks and place a single granite shingle roof block on the edge of the wood beam, and another on top. Placing the roof blocks in a diagonal configuration like this will create this ornamental aesthetic. Place as many of these as you want. I chose to go every other 2 windows. Here we are at the satisfying part, filling in the rooftop. It is incredibly easy and actually went by faster than I thought. Just repeat the following action. 2 blocks high on each wood beam till you reach the top, and place 2 blocks side by side, 1 on each beam. And that is that. Well, except I would also recommend leaving the space unfilled where the side roofs connect to the main roof, as that will take more special attention. Once you are left with meshing the roofs, take real care to do it right. Go beam by beam, going 2 blocks high on each beam until they meet in the middle. It can get a bit tricky at times to see blocks you've already placed, so whenever in doubt, just undo your last action. This is the hardest part of the roofing section, but ultimately, it didn't take more than 15 minutes to finish both side roof connections. It is up to you how many of the roofing wood guide beams you want to keep. I liked the look of them, so I kept most of them, only removing some of the lower ones, which would be in the way of my walls. Time to add some aesthetics to the second floor. As you can already see, I've completed this side off recording, as I spent a long time tinkering around with it. So now I'll use the other side of the build to show you how to build the same thing. First, carve out some space in the wall to place a 1x2 section of ornamented window frames, followed by a 1x2 section of round polished window frames on top. On the sides, fill in red marble block with 3 side-by-side columns, and in the center, place 2 ornamented wood window frames. Centered on top, position a round steel window frame. Fill in the topmost part of the wall with granite, followed by a bit more red marble on the sides of the steel window frame, and the remaining gaps with granite. Okay, on the other exterior face, start with 2 large round polished window frames, leaving a gap in between. On top of these window frames, fit in some round polished window frames on the interior edge of each window. And further up, we'll place another large round polished window frame on the interior corners of the below windows. Then proceed to fill in the gaps with red marble and cut some room for the red marble around the the perimeter of all windows. On the back side of the house, we'll repeat the same window setup as we did in the front. At this point, I wanted to expand the overhang of all the front-facing roof overhangs and make them tapered. For all of these, I started with the guide beams again for roof block placement, and did the same thing when building the roofs previously, of 2 blocks up, 1 block over. Each guide beam is 1 block shorter the lower you go. Fill in all the roofing pieces and optionally remove the beams when done. I felt on the exterior of the house they were a bit much for my taste, so I removed them, unlike the interior beams. On the first floor, alternate between granite windows and iron windows. The granite windows do not provide visibility despite being, windows, but I like the coloring of them, which adds a nice contrast to the other colors used in the build. On the ends, I opted to go with 4 iron window frames and 3 round iron window top frames, leaving a small gap in between the top windows. We are about finished with the original build. Up to this point, we have neglected the front door. Whoops! I chose to go with the large crypt door, which required making some space. On the sides, I placed some red marble with a round steel window frame on top. And finally, we head on over to the opposite side of the build to place all of the tower crenelations. Select the wall blocks 1 meter shape and place them around the perimeter with 2 block gaps in between. This isn't possible along the non-straight sections, but do your best to make the gaps as equal as possible. Once you are satisfied with the spacing, place another round of blocks on top of each one and do the same thing below them. Within the gap of each column, fill in a wall block 1 meter shape. The last touch is to switch to a single wall block and place a single row of blocks under each crenellation to better mesh it with the outer wall. And that's that for the original build of the Viking house. But before we move on to the new addition, let's take the decay tool from the Pact of the Flame update and go around and add some weathered look to the tower. Previously, we had intermixed some castle block within the build to give it a weathered look, which still works great for the interior as the decay tool only affects the edges. But now we can add even more character by randomly applying the effect across the tower. Cool stuff. Okay, now if you're interested in the underground crypt area that gives more space for your craftspeople and workstations, here's how to do it. The most time-consuming part of the underground edition is the removal of the ground. So our first step is to make a rough carving of the area we need to clear out so we can follow that up with all the walls, floors, and finer details at the end. I thought it would be cool to have a cellar door entrance into the crypt area in addition to the indoor access down the stairs. So since we are already outside, let's dig down. Naturally, the distance you'll want to dig down will depend on how deep you make the underground portion of the base. In this instance, the crypt floor is 12 blocks below the ground floor, so we'll ultimately need to dig that deep. Pickaxe is the slowest way of doing this. Instead, you can use the terrain or wall blocks in the 1 meter shape category to right-click and remove them. There is an alternative approach, which I'll show you momentarily. Instead of continuing the passage from the cellar, I decided to jump over to digging out the crypt area next. Reason being, at this point, I wasn't sure how deep I'd make it, so I wanted to determine that. Also, I thought it might be easier to connect the cellar entrance to the basement if I dug from both sides, which ended up working nicely. Now, as I previously recommended, if you intend to build this Viking house from the start, definitely dig out the underground area from the beginning. However, if you've already built it and later decide to add a basement, or you have your own home design and looking to add a basement to that, I'll show you all the easiest way to do it. So go in the centerish region of the floor and start digging downward. But probably before you even do that, I recommend going along the perimeter of the house and adding a wall into the ground so once you start digging, you can find the borders of the house easily. This approach will allow you to dig out the area until you hit a wall, so you don't end up digging out too much, only just what you need. So a great way to clear out a large space with a clean flat surfaces is to select a large prefab shape, like the foundation, and place it within the dirt, or in this case granite since we are in the Albanese summits, and then right click to remove it. This will also remove all the granite that the shape previously occupied. Do not undo last action by pressing Y, as that will not remove any terrain. By doing this repeatedly, you can clear out a large amount of space pretty quickly. And not only that, it will be nice and flat for your eventual floor and wall placement. Since we are digging underground, the lighting is terrible, so I also recommend placing some white luminescent blocks temporarily to provide lots of ambient lighting to see what you're doing. After clearing out the rough area directly under the house, let's now carve out an area leading from the interior ground floor to this area we just dug out. Go into the back tower and cut a hole in the wall at the end and start removing terrain. It doesn't need to be perfect right now. Our only goal is to find where the large dugout cavern is located so that we can later come through and fine tune it. We're just about done carving out the underground areas. Last bit will be to connect the cellar door entrance to the main area. From the corner of the house, start tunneling your way toward the general area. As long as you've dug deep enough from the cellar side, you should inevitably run into it, assuming you are digging in the correct direction. Because I desire a narrow passageway to connect both areas, I opted to select the aptly named narrow wall to place and remove continuously to tunnel my way in that direction. Naturally, it doesn't remove as much material as the foundation, but it gives me the approximate shape I want. And any uneven parts of the wall we create, or if we just want to slightly increase the width, we can use the same wall to position and then remove to even everything out. It is a nifty way to make everything straight. If you want to double check that you are properly aligned with the other side, you can kind of angle the camera such that you can see through the wall and out the other side. As you can perhaps kind of tell, we are heading right for our target. Now that we've finished digging out everything, time to go through each section and start building. The door for our cellar can be placed using the new rotation mechanics introduced in the recent update. Within the cellar door entryway, construct a simple staircase, which you could have optionally done as you dug down. Here we're going to clean up some of the excess terrain using the previous narrow wall trick I mentioned. And we're going to start placing floors and walls. I also decided to make a little alcove to place some lighting, so this isn't completely dark once we remove the white luminescent blocks. Place all your walls and remove any bits of terrain you don't want. I actually do like the look of the terrain on the roof within the bottom section, so I decided to keep it. I did, however, decide after much contemplation to cover the ceiling above the stairs heading down. I chose a simple pattern for the ceiling. In 5-block long sections, make a slight arch by having each end of a row 1 block lower than the central blocks. After making it 5 blocks long, lower the next section by 1 and repeat the pattern all the way down. It is a simple but nice aesthetic in my opinion. Sometimes simpler is better. Within the narrow hallway of the passageway, add some additional lighting by removing 2 vertical blocks 2 blocks deep. Place some yellow luminescent in the back and a crypt candle in the opening. Not only does it give some much needed lighting, but also ties into the crypt motif and looks rather good in my opinion. With that addition, we are more or less done with the passageway. Time to turn our attention to the large area beneath our house. Go fill in all the walls around the perimeter and the floors. It just so happens in this location, there is a large hole in the ground that leads to the passageway deep within the mountain. That leads up to the dragon boss fight. I originally built over it with the house, but upon digging it up again, I decided to incorporate that into the design of our crypt by literally placing the crypt right over it. Next order of business is to clean up the connection between the interior of the house and the underground. I centered the stair passageway in the middle of the house and opted to make the stairs narrower so I could fit in some more stuff below it. All basic walls and floors are now placed throughout the build. Time to add some finer details to really tie it all together, starting with the pit beneath the crypt. Start with placing some hollow walls material all around the perimeter of the pit. We want to go a bit deeper as we want to place our grating a bit lower inside along with the huge crypt brazier. So we'll need plenty of room. Once you've built deep enough, time to make a platform large enough to hold the brazier. Using the wall block, extended beam from each rock face and in the middle, place additional blocks to make the platform. I intermix some yellow luminescent to give the pit a bit of a yellowish glow in addition to the green from the brazier. And upon finishing the platform, center the brazier as best as you can. Obviously, I didn't go through all of this work just to cover it up with a solid floor. I want to see the flames and smoke come through the floor as well as see down into the pit. So I initially chose to lay down iron grates using the new rotation mechanic to fine-tune the placement. That worked pretty well, but I felt the thickness of the bars were too much and it was preventing me from seeing into the pit. So I replaced them with the prison fence, rotated in the same manner. They are smaller than the iron gate, so it required more of them to fill in the area, but the bars are also considerably narrower, giving a much better view underneath. That pretty much entails the entirety of the build, minus all of the decorations and such. Including all of that in the video would have made it twice as long, so I'll leave it at that. If, however, you want to mimic or draw inspiration from the decor I used, by all means go back to the tour part of the video and have a look at what I did. Feel free to use the underground area however you like.
I split the space between the crypt for the collector and alchemist and the rest of the space for my other crafters and extra beds. Anyways, I've kept you here long enough. If you like seeing how to build type content on the channel and want to see more, let us know. We typically don't do full how to build step-by-step type guides, but I thought it would be cool to do considering the update was build centric, but would absolutely do it again if you all liked it. And if you did, consider liking the video as that helps us out more than anything. And subscribe to the channel and tap the bell for notifications so you can stay up to date with our latest videos. One last thing, a special shout out to all of our awesome Patreon members whose generosity keeps this channel going strong. Thank you all so much. On that note, this is Eerie Knight signing off. See you all in the next one.